Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Layer by Layer, the show about 3D printing and our place inside of the industry. Today we're going to talk about Icon making a whole neighborhood, updates to the API, and some discussion about crowdfunding in a number of different formats, potentially. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by TangledFilament.com. Tangled is our efforts to bring the cost of filament down to $10 per spool. We started out at 22, so far we're at 15. Right now you can get any color that you want, so long as it's black or gray. We have just released gray filament, so you can get a hold of our V0.7 gray filament over there. It is stable, it is printable. We just might be refining the color a little bit more. It is a light gray, and you just might enjoy it. We also have a little bit of excess wonk. So check out tangledfilament.com, and let's get on with the video. Tangled filament, we got gray available, so that's the thing. We'll talk about that a little bit more here in a minute. First piece of the news, Texas 3D printing firm Icon has revealed plans to build what it claims will be the largest community of 3D printed homes to date in Austin, Texas. Partnering with a leading U.S. home builder, Lennar, and architecture firm Big York Ingalls Group, Icon will deploy its 3D printing robotics technology, software, blah, blah, blah. All their things are going to make a house slated to break ground next year. The project comes off the back of Lennar's $207 million, Lennar's involvement in the $207 million financing round, which I think Tiger Global was also involved with, in a bid to deliver more affordable and technology-driven homes to meet the region's rising housing demand. Labor and material shortages are two of the biggest factors pushing the dream of home ownership out of reach for many American families, said Eric Fetter, president of Lynx, the investing arm of Lennar. It's an interesting topic. The 3D printed houses have always been fascinating because even though, yes, a lot of people have discussed the fact that a 3D printed house isn't necessarily cheaper because framers are very efficient, and wooden house building is very efficient just from having been around a long time compared to concrete printed down over the course of a week. And that's true. And absolutely from that context, but people don't take into account the cost and scarcity of the labor to build houses. Houses are really expensive right now because there are just not house builders. The trades, those types of jobs are not commonly filled. So house builders are very expensive people to bring on, and that helps to increase the cost of the house too. Yes, there's interest rates and costs of stuff and shenanigans with HOAs and blah, 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 all the other reasons that are part of house building. But having an automated system to build a large portion of the house is very valuable. Yes, you still have to make the foundation. Yes, you still have to put in all the electrical and conduit and that kind of stuff. But being able to put up the walls by parking a machine there and coming back in a couple of days is a pretty big deal. Now, the issue that they do have is the fact that you still have to put in conduit and pipes and all the rest of it. And for this, I'm really surprised that either Icon or someone else doesn't try to re-architect interior infrastructure of houses, because there's so much that can be done with that. Right now, yes, people and skilled labor lays out conduit or pipes and orients it all. By standardizing the houses and almost turning those components into more Lego bricks than they are custom fitted pieces of the house, to where it's so skilled based and you have issues of having to rebuild it and all the rest of it. If you modularize it, or literally plugs are at the same 3-foot height above the wall all the way through. I'm not a home builder, so now I'm talking out of my tail. But if you were to just basically make a set of Lego pieces that run along the inner side of the wall or embed into a slot in the wall, that this printed system is able to create that slot pretty readily. Then you can just run it all along. It's outside, it's accessible. You don't have to put it behind drywall or anything else, or you can just spackle over it, whatever it happens to be. There are ways of changing that part of the assembly, which is very intensive and adds a lot of cost to the house, and making it a lot easier. Foundation, can't do anything about, but the foundations are not that expensive in the context of house building, because the good thing about liquid cement is that it kind of dries level so long as you've got it in a pool with level sides on the rest of it all. So yeah, it's not horrible to make that scalable, sustainable, and easy for people to learn. And I have laid a lot of foundations personally, just on the side in past life. This has a lot of value. This automated means of building houses has a lot of value because you eliminate the necessity for that skill, which simply does not exist anymore because we haven't been training it up. And yeah, we got to build houses faster, so we need more machines to help with it. So this is sweet. They didn't really mention how many houses are going to be in it, but it's going to be the biggest 3D printed neighborhood. Austin makes sense. Icon is based inside of Austin, so of course they're going to build it right there, and they've just got a huge amount of money. Alrighty, next piece of news. Navy has deployed 3D printers as part of its largest naval training exercise down near Hawaii. These printers have included the X-Speed 3D cold spray system from Speed 3D as to try to assess their value in securing military supply chains in the field. The trial seeks to reduce the delivery time of critical parts from days to hours through a cradle-to-grave approach. Yeah, the Navy's got printers on the ships. They're going to see if they can make any of the parts that they absolutely need to see if these things are logistically viable in production. And that's sweet. We need that. And it's obvious. And yes, you can, by the way. So, and ships are actually fantastic for 3D printers because they have a ton of power. They don't have to move. It doesn't matter how rugged the printer is because it's on a ship. And the ship, if it gets hit with a bomb, it's going down anyway. So it doesn't really matter how fragile your machine is. It doesn't have to be dropped out the side of a plane. It has to sit along on a floating city. So it's a great application. All right, other pieces of news. This last week, Slant 3D passed 100,000 subscribers. Yes, we did. We did. 100,000. 20 months to get to this point since we started like consistently posting on YouTube. I think we've posted 400 videos or whatever it was because we post 3 times a week, guys, plus podcasts, this thing. We've made a lot of videos. We've learned a lot of lessons. We know a lot about YouTube right now, and being able to pass 100K is really satisfying. And not to brag, and this is kind of not necessarily shared around, but we also get the same number of views as anybody else with way more subscribers because dirty little secret, subscribers don't really matter on YouTube. But don't tell any of our sponsors that, including ourselves. We got 100,000 subscribers. It's really nifty. And thank you guys all for watching. Like, sincerely, the fact that so many people have decided to come along for the ride, we were really shocked that we would ever hit this level. We thought, 3D printing, mass production 3D printing, we're going to get like 25,000 subscribers ever. But right now, we're planning for the 1 million. So thank you all. This has been a lot of fun. We're schlepping through some stuff right at the moment, but content will start ramping up more and shifting and getting better here over time. And we keep on evolving it and trying stuff. Also, the Tangled testing channel, videos starting to break loose over there. So go subscribe over there if you haven't already, if you want to know how Filament behaves. Alrighty. Product updates. Tangled Filament. As we discussed, gray is out. It is a light gray. A light gray, very light gray. Gray, light gray, ash gray. As in like gray in your beard kind of gray. That kind of gray, not industrial metal gray. It's light gray. I hope that's clear enough. We have photos of the stuff over there. There might be shadows. It's light gray. But we've released light gray. I don't know what's up, guys, but this particular colorant has been an issue because the gray, it's the correct stuff. It belongs in the polymer, but when we're extruding it, it creates more variability in the extrusion diameter than we generally want. Or initially it did. We fixed it all, so you guys are getting good filament. Don't worry. But it was a challenge. It was a challenge to get it tuned in and corralled and reined in. Black is easy. Clear is easy. There may be clear over on the website, but if it is clear, it's going to be standard NGO 4043 clear, which means that it has a little bit of a yellow tint. So FYI on that. Yeah, just FYI on that. Okay, let's see here. Tangled Filament. Yes, go ahead and grab some. We're going to keep up production with this, so grab it all while you can. We may do an announcement video of this and other colors sometime in the near future. But we're back on roadmap over on Tangled, so that's sweet. Finally getting colors out. API updates. I'm going to pause those for just a second. Etsy updates. There are color updates all over the place. Etsy will have a bunch of colors released here very soon. So if you have been holding back on either using the Etsy plugin or fully matching a bunch of products on the Etsy plugin, we're going to turn loose a whole bunch of colors. So like metallics and blue and green and all those other things that we haven't currently turned loose yet. Right now it's gray, black, white, red, and yellow are available on the API. We will turn loose a whole bunch more. By the way, the color, the gray on Etsy and on the API is light gray. It's ashen gray. It is not our internal gray. This is actually a supplier gray that we really like. But it is light gray, not mechanical gray. A few people have asked about that because there's confusion between what is white and what is gray. And when I'm looking at them side by side, I don't see the difference. But I suppose if you saw gray in isolation, you think it was light colored. But it's light gray. So anyhow, API updates. The API is really interesting because we were having this discussion earlier this week, and the API is arguably our most important product because it is the spine of all the other pieces of software that we do, from the print on demand to the Etsy to Shopify coming out here soon. All of those are built on the API. And the API was created so that other companies could utilize the resource of mass production 3D printing, getting access to our print farm without having to get it. It's like having a mainframe without having to buy a mainframe. The API gives you shared time on it. So the 3D printing API is just a big deal. We're continuing to refine it and tighten it up, but it's always meant to be very simple. You send an STL over and you get a part back. So it's a very fundamental product for us in a lot of different ways, and we're evolving it and keeping it strong and reliable. There was a bug that we ran into last week that was causing some delays in slicing. We've got that fixed, so it's fast again. Fast back up again in those weird peak periods. It was a spike in demand that caused an issue with it. But anyhow, we got those updated, and it is good to go. But like seriously, being able, actually, wait a second. We were going to talk about, okay, example here. This is something that the API enables, and quite frankly, I need your guys' opinion on this. We've been thinking about what are the other products that can now be built on top of the API and these other applications that we have, because y'all aren't building them fast enough. We came up with the idea for an app. AI has all gotten to a position where it's really, really good. I don't know if you've uploaded a photo to ChatGPT and had it like evaluate it, which all the little pins and stuff are doing, but it works really kind of terrifyingly well. We want to build yes, I am allowed to talk about this. This is part of the show notes. We have an app that we want to build called Conjure. And Conjure is effectively AI-assisted 3D modeling. What we want to do as first minimum viable product, we want you to be able to take the picture of a drawer in your desk, and then it auto models a bunch of organizer slots that could like go into Gridfinity that could then be printed through like our API and shipped to you, so that you get fully customized organizational bins for the objects inside of your desk. So that then you can put in those bins and like scissors go in here and pins go in there and SD cards go in there. And it's got a slot custom designed for the number and size of things that you have. Literally take a picture, verify 3D model, and then you can order the piece or download the 3D model and print it yourself. That is Conjure. We want to build this. We don't know what the demand for this would be. It sounds really cool. We have, in our shop, we have tons of workstations. We would love to design organizers for those workstations so you know the scissors are there, the pliers are there, the knife is there, that kind of stuff. But it's too much effort to model this stuff. And any one of them is pretty quick to model, but a dozen of them turns into a giant job. And for someone who doesn't know anything about modeling, like someone with a sewing kit or a mother at home, or who's just like, I want to organize the cutlery drawer, it's really useful for them because it's kind of magical. You take a picture, the AI system creates the model, and then you order the part. And since we have a giant print farm connected to the API, you can just run with that. It's really cool. We want to build this application, and it's really, really nifty. But we don't know how much people are going to use it or if it's as cool as what we're thinking inside of our mind. So we're thinking of crowdfunding this, where effectively we raise some amount and the rewards would be credits to this app. So like you can download 5 STLs from the thing, or you can get if you donated $10, you can get a $9 credit to the app itself, something along those lines, so that we know how many people would want this thing, want to use this thing, and then we can fund the development of it, because we got a lot of projects going on, guys. And if we add another project in there, we need to know that it's going to be successful. So pre-orders are really useful. As far as our ability to create this, I am going to lay out in excruciating detail how you get this built. The way you get something like this built, Web app, fine, easy. You can take a picture with a phone, fine, easy. You can connect that to ChatGPT, fine, easy. The API allows all of that stuff. ChatGPT is able to evaluate the objects in the image, and from the testing that we've done, accurately define the bounding box of those objects. So like these scissors are 8 by 4 by whatever it happens to be. The minimum viable product of this is literally just making a gridfinity box with a square cutout that fits those scissors. Now it's a square cutout, which isn't the greatest, but that's proof of concept, a fitted box. And then you can put gridfinity grids in the bottom of the desk or whatever it happens to be. A fitted box. Then, if the thing is funded enough, then we can go ahead and add in contour matching. Okay, you took a picture of a pair of scissors and it cuts out a slot for the size of the pair of scissors. There's a number of ways of doing this. We could do vision analysis where you just run a Huff transform and then get the outline as a bitmap and then use that outline to extrude into an OpenSCAD drawing or something. Or heck, you could even use like the lithophane feature inside of Cura, and we could like break loose a feature on the app to where you upload an SVG file or a bitmap also. I think a bitmap will work. And then it just extrudes a really deep box with a shallow end on the bottom, and we define what that size is. All of that those are all very doable. And then once that STL is made, and quite frankly, the STL generation is the hardest part of what is all fairly easy, because again, AI is amazing. Then it sends an API call through us, you confirm purchase, and you can either buy the box or you can download the STL. So a job that would normally take 5 or 10 minutes to design a custom box with a cutout, now it takes a couple of seconds and anyone can do it. This is really magical because people who don't know anything about 3D printing get to utilize the powers of 3D printing, which are high SKU count and some amount of customizability. And AI is scalable enough to allow these custom things to be made. So we really want to make this app because quite frankly, you guys are all great, but we want normal people to be able to use 3D printing. We want a normal housewife, random Joe, whatever it happens to be able to pull up an iPhone app and just go click and get something in the mail that's been 3D printed, customized for them. It's really, really cool. But as cool as that is, cool products don't necessarily mean they're good products or that people actually want them. The main people we see this solving problems for are guys in shops who need to organize all the individual tools across a toolbox. People who just have a lot of organization. So yes, the normal person who just wants to organize individual things or organize a desk. And then anybody else who wanders by, because people this OCD are not that common, but they're reasonably common. The normal population could engage with this. And once we have that baseline, we can start expanding it out to do other things. We could long term add in other sorts of functionalities to be like, oh, customize this particular shape or this particular product. And it becomes this nifty little portal that gives you access to easy modeling tools and then also allows whatever you create to be printed so it's relevant to you and you're not just selling stuff. So as far as what we're looking at right now, we want to do a Kickstarter to see if anybody would want it. You would be earning credits to this. So like you pay us $10 and we'll give you 10 credits, and those 10 credits would let you download 3 or 4 STL files to pay for the server costs of the thing. And then you can download STL files. You guys can print them yourself. We would connect to the API. So if somebody doesn't want to print it, they can order the print. And then you start with just a square box outline that fits whatever the thing is. And then we could expand it to do contours as a stretch goal. And then we could expand it to make it smarter and smarter and smarter. But all of that is very doable. And with the software that we've built already, we could knock out an MVP of this in like 2 days, if even that, probably faster. Building the full thing takes a couple weeks or so. So we would like to know that people want it before we commit a couple weeks to that, rather than adding some new capability to Etsy, Shopify, whatever it happens to be. So let us know if this is an app that you guys would be interested in doing for generating STLs to 3D print yourself, to organize your workspace, or anything along those lines. It's a really great application of 3D printing. It's a really great application of AI. It just gets us in a lot of places where we want to be as far as experimenting. Because right now, our API is for developers who are uber passionate about 3D printing and want to build stuff. And then we have Etsy and Shopify, which goes one more layer to businesses who want to use 3D printing. But we'd love to build a consumer app that is useful. And this seems like the thing that would work there. But we are testing it This is the MVP. Describing it to you guys and saying, do you care, is step one. And if you care, then we'll move ahead to Kickstarter, and that's step two. And if the Kickstarter goes through, then we'll build the thing and start evolving it from there. So let us know what you think down in the comments, because I really want this. This would be sick. And because, it functionally in the shop, it would organize it, but myself as a persnickety, I'm not that persnickety, but reasonably persnickety, being able to do this would feel really good and really magical, because you take a picture of a thing and some other thing shows up that never existed before. That's really cool. And it works for normal people. An organizer box that's custom for your scissors will cost like $4 or $5. It's just really, really flippin' nifty. And if you wanted to build something for the Etsy app, you could build out tons and tons of these organizers and just sell them to people. Then you can build an Etsy store plugged into our Etsy plugin, and you can then print it and shipped, and you don't have to deal with anything. You fully existing inside of our ecosystem, and you're making tons of money. But this is something we want to do, because a consumer product for normal folks would be awesome. All right, discussion topic. Should we crowdfund investment? So here's a little bit of backstory about the company. Slant 3D is a fully bootstrapped company. We have never taken any investment. We have used all traditional financing methodologies to get to where we are, whatever the heck that is. But we've grown to a point to where some of the things that we want to do require time. Things like the Etsy app or the Shopify plugin and that kind of stuff take time to grow to a critical mass where it's useful. We're in the startup phase of those projects where they need time to hit product market fit. This is where investment is useful, because it doesn't relieve stress, but it gives us the ability to think longer term about certain things rather than how are we going to pay the bills this month, which is an operational need that we have to do each month. We operate so that we aren't in a situation where it's like, I don't know how we're going to hit payroll next week, but we want the flexibility to operate over years rather than over months. And when you're bootstrapped, you're generally operating over months. So we've been thinking about raising investment through traditional means. Here's the problem. Traditional investors, there's smart ones and dumb ones. The smart ones don't want to do anything with a manufacturing company because they think 3D printing is unscalable. And regardless of whatever stats we can show them, us compared to the next whatever app, we look like a higher risk than the next whatever app because we have to build factories, and the next whatever app gets to just build the app and they get 1 million downloads and they sell ads on it or whatever it was. So raising investment is challenging for us because we're kind of an unattractive company, especially when the overall 3D printing industry has lost 90% of its value over the last 4 years. We had our peak in COVID, and it's all gone south since then. So taking on investment is a thing we've been considering. We're poorly positioned because we're in one of the worst industries and worst categories for that. The story can be told to some people, and quite frankly, the story is best told to you guys, because the very fact that you watch this channel means that you guys are on board with a lot of the stuff that we believe in and are working towards, which is the warehouse where the shelves make the product, where you set up these fulfillment centers filled with printers, and nothing ever exists until somebody actually wants it. And you guys get that. Therefore, it seems like it might be better for us to do equity crowdfunding than to do traditional venture capital backing. Because right now we already have this community, and you guys have been engaged with projects like Tangled and Tangled testing, and even like the Etsy apps and stuff that we've built, and the channel itself. Having you continue to come along kind of makes rational sense. And then you guys also get skin in the game as investors. The issue I have with that is that you guys then become investors. And engaging with any one of these projects is fine because these projects we know we will deliver, and it is our obligation to deliver. But investing in a company is a very different monster, and making that ask is a very different monster because it is super high risk. We could go out of business next year or whatever it happens to be, and whatever investment you guys may have made in like that equity crowdfund
could disappear. So I take some umbrage at that and concern with that because it can be really damaging to the community. And if that occurred, it would stick in your guys' craw for when the next organization came along. If we failed, you guys lost money on us as a crowd investing in it, then it would be an issue. But that being so, there's this teeter-totter of like, it makes really sense because we have a good community. And it's like, it makes no sense because we don't want to hurt our community because this is a high-risk situation. Investing in a startup is a terrible thing to do. Which again is kind of why I suppose I'm bringing it up here. Do you guys think we should go that direction? Like, I shouldn't make decisions for y'all. So comment down below on that too. I've got a lot of comments about things here today. But yeah, comment down below whether you think we should do crowdfunding. The good part of it is that now shareholders, we would effectively be a public company earlier, so we would have to some degree, answer to what that crowd who invested in us put forward. So that's a thing we've been thinking about, and we're still pursuing like traditional forms of investment. If you happen to be in an investment firm or whatever else it was, you should reach out to us right now because we're going to do something in the next little bit. But crowdfunding, here's the thing with equity crowdfunding. For me, philosophically, myself, with anything that I've done it still seems sort of scuzzy to me. And that might not be fair. But I've seen so many companies kind of shyster their way through these things. And quite frankly, even we could too. It's like, oh, we got 100,000 subscribers. We built the API and all this kind of stuff. We're going broke and going into debt in the background or whatever else it was. That's a dirty little secret. But like that's the issue, is that with so many of these funding campaigns, it's easy to put forward the best face and not be fully honest about what the thing is. And I would be fearful that we wouldn't cover all the bases of all the risks that are involved with this. And equity crowdfunding is available to amateur investors, which is somewhat dangerous and improprietous. It makes it feel like gambling. It's kind of like Robinhood and that kind of stuff, to where a traditional retail investor probably shouldn't be making these decisions because you are likely going to lose your money. And investing in startups, you're very likely to lose your money. And crowdfunding has that smell on it. And I know of a lot of companies who have done that and taken advantage of people by putting on the best face and then shilling everybody. And getting involved in that ecosystem seems somewhat slimy. We're picking them. I mean, we're not going to go to whatever the nearest one was. We're talking to a couple right now because, again, we're exploring this. To have them answer that question and tell me why should we be doing this? Because I'm feeling old and tired and crotchety about this. But yeah, crowdfunding makes sense. Equity crowdfunding makes sense because if you're making a product that a lot of people want, having people have skin in the game is better. It's better than like Kickstarter in many regards, because if the company is successful, you get a piece of the pie, rather than Kickstarter where you get the product and then maybe not a piece of the pie. Kickstarter, I don't think you're even allowed to do equity or something on Kickstarter. I think they outlawed it. You get to purchase the product as a pre-order. But anyhow, yeah, I'd love any insights anybody has out there around your perception of equity crowdfunding, and having 1,000 people throw in $100 to a startup or whatever it happens to be. Because yes, it checks a bunch of boxes and works well for our position, and it's got things that I'm concerned about, and I don't want to mess with stuff on that. But yeah, either way, Slant 3D is starting to pursue non-organic investment methodologies to move beyond bootstrapping, because bootstrapping is great and the discipline that teaches you is really good. And I do recommend that more companies should bootstrap because it makes you understand your business better and understand allocation of resources. Investment gets you in a mode of moving fast, got to spend whatever we can. And that's fine and good and necessary. But If you get invested with $1 million or whatever it was, you have too much money to build whatever your thing is. It doesn't take $1 million to build anything. So do it better. Figure out how to send the satellite to orbit for not $1 million. Get a little bit more creative, or get some pre-orders, some actual customers, whatever it happens to be. Get some proof in the pudding. But anyhow, we have bootstrapped. We have done our lickings. Slant 3D has been a while. We have proven ourselves. We've existed for 3 years and had revenue and profitability before. So all of that is useful. We're in a good position to where we have legitimacy and to where I feel comfortable bringing in external investors, because we're not figuring it out as much as we were. We know that 3D printing is correct, and we know that 3D printing can compete with injection molding, and we know that we can make money doing it. Now the refinements are, what is the best product for like scaling up from here? And these are like the experiments of like Conjure and the Shopify and the Etsy. These are all products that we're committing to, but they're also experimental to find out how do we wrangle this thing. Because Slant 3D, one of our big operating principles is, how do we make this print farm easier for normal people to access, so that it becomes something invisible and not something that people have to consider or design a part for. We're in the design for it kind of phase right now, but as it gains more traction, it just becomes a set of rules and you adopt to them. It's kind of like when the iPhone is out, Apple gets to define how apps appear on an iPhone, and developers have to create that way. When we have lots of print farms everywhere, if somebody wants to be on our print farm network, then they have to design a product a certain way, or it doesn't get to go on the network. So that's a part of it. But yeah, let us know how you guys feel about equity crowdfunding. It lifts our skirt on a bunch of stuff. That's a thing too. Like in the crowdfunding round, we're pretty exposed, at least financially, very publicly. I've used it for researching companies and clients that we worked with before to get all kinds of dirty secrets out of them. But so it makes us really, really commit to the amount of transparency that we already have through things like this podcast, but like even more so. Because I don't break down financials of what we're doing here like ever, and I never have. And it feels a little bit uncomfortable, even though we have to do it so that investors can make informed decisions. So there's that. It's just odd to like open your books to the internet. So there's that as well. Just a lot of things like stirring around as we're talking through this all. But it has a lot of good points, a lot of bad points. I would like to know what the audience thinks, because quite frankly, if we were to go that direction, in a few months, we would have a discussion on this podcast about the current crowdfunding campaign. And I would like to have that not be a surprise to any of you, or the things that we do in it not be a surprise to any of y'all. So yeah, let us know what you think, whether you guys would be down, how it sits with you, all the things. And in traditional crowdfunding, if you'd be interested in Conjure, if you would like an STL generator where you just take a picture of a thing and it makes an organizer box for that thing, or take a picture of a drawer and it makes several organizer boxes for all the things in that drawer, seems like a really cool product. It would be sick. And it would actually, you know what? That could be something like that's a killer app for like those humane pins. You put that on somebody who like walks the factory floor, and it's just like, make a thing for that. And then boxes show up the next day or whatever it was that were just 3D printed. That'd be sick. So that's it. Those are the conversations. Thanks again, everybody. Crossing 100,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much. I really appreciate you all watching. Hopefully these things continue to be useful for you, and we continue to do stuff that's cool and helps to move the community forward. Really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody.